Hi folks, welcome to episode 23. And today we're going to work on 3ds Max and actually importing something into Unity. This right here is a Unity thing. If you're following my tutorials in the past, you'll notice this tutorial thing that I've always been using for several things now. Right in here is a church area that I created, and this is recorded sometime at or around Easter, so it felt really churchy. And the problem right here is that we're kind of missing an altar right here. So in 3ds Max, we're going to create a table type thing. It's good to learn to start small with furniture and whatnot, so we can work up to buildings like this, because this right here is also built in 3ds Max, such as the guns that I'm holding and the knife and everything. But let's just get right into it. Now, right here is a blank scene. It's not the same one we used earlier for the last episode, but this scene looks exactly the same. So let's start off with for a table, we'll start off with a box. Now, when it comes to boxes, we drag and drop our desired dimensions. We'll try to get a square, or actually we'll go for a golden rectangle. And let's make sure this is not thin, but not too thin, because we're working with a table here. Now this right here makes a pretty good tabletop. That's what I would say. And let's make sure we got our dimensions right. So let's go right here into the editing tab. And we'll go 100 by 200. So that gives us a nice golden ratio for a table. Now, one important thing that I left out in the last episode was the centering button. This button right here centers on whatever you're currently highlighting when you click. Now we're going to go into the object editing, modeling, more like it, tab. We haven't used this before, and I'll show you what everything does if you get confused. Now this is the modeling tab. It allows us to take whatever we have highlighted right here and turn it into an editable poly. So you're probably used to making objects via putting primitives together on top of each other and then connecting them. With 3ds Max, we can move polygons within objects to make our own objects by dragging and dropping basically all the things that you were useful to. There's a number of things that we could do. We could move the vertices, which are points within each object. I'll control A to show you everything, show you the points. Now, in this instance, we have 8 on this box right here, and they're useful for a number of things. We can make them bigger or smaller, or move them up or down, and this changes the dimensions of the box, and now that looks uneven, so let's fix that. Control Z, and that's back to normal. This right here is the edge select. When it comes to edges, it's between two vertices. So right here, when I selected the edge, we can move that as well, and then we can have that nice tapered off look right here on a table. But I think I'll stick with the regular look. Now, we'll skip to polygons because it's kind of important for the one before it. Polygons are the shapes, the faces of each polygon we're working with, of 3D object we're working with. And they all can be sized, rotated, and moved around. I know that looks kind of weird, but I'll fix that. And they're useful for a number of things, but they're especially useful when you delete them. So when you have one right there and you delete them, you're left with this black hole right here. Now with this black hole, we have basically a one-sided plane. So if you looked in right here on Unity, you wouldn't be able to see a single thing because all these polygons right here are one-sided. They're not back-facing. Back-facing means that you can see them from both sides. So with this thing right here called the border select, since I deleted something, I created a border. And with these borders, you can shift, drag to create new ones of them and do a number of interesting things to actually create. But In this instance, we're going to use a different function that goes right into the polygons because it is a lot easier than beveling. Than moving with the borders. Borders are good for especially when you want to do freeforming, your own shapes, but that's going to be a later episode as well. Fix that. One important thing when dealing with borders is the fact that you can close them at any time, right here. It's the cap poly function right here. So let's go back to polygons. Right here we have this polygon selected. What we want to do now is create 4 legs for the table we're working on. So what I would do right here is subdivide, and then you want to go to tessellate. Tessellation is basically taking this one polygon and separating it into 4. If you do it again, it separates into 8 or 16. 16 different polygons turned into 1 from 1, basically like that. And what you want to do is you want to select the 4 polygons on the edge of each of these things, and then you want to go to this right here, which is called the extrude function. We can do this either through extruding or beveling, depending on the type of table we want. So let's just go with a simple extrude right here. And when we extrude it right here, we have a table-looking thing, but it looks more like a simple Minecraft table, for instance, used only with, straight edges, and it's very boxy, and we can do better than that. Now for this, we can use the bevel function. Beveling is like the extrude function, except that you can make the top edges bigger or smaller afterwards, like so. Now that is the look we were going for. Now the problem is this entire table is upside down. So let's fix this table by unselecting all the polygons, and now we're back into selecting the entire table. First, I would click this button again, the zoom extend selected, and that gives us right into the middle of things. Now, what we got to do is rotate the entire thing. Make sure you have nothing else selected except for this one table, and press E, or click up here to the rotation button. And just simply rotate it a good 180 degrees. I meant 180. I can count. There we go. And then move it up so that it's flush with the ground. And as you can see right here, we have a pretty decent table. It's still lopsided. I will fix that. That's pretty good right there. Now, in order to move this into our Unity scene, it's pretty simple. We're not going to get into texturing today. That's going to be a later episode. So we're just going to keep this nice gray texture right here for what we were working on. So what I would do is Control S. I'm going to save this as a table texture, as a table model. And we can also export it as any one of these things. And I believe OBJs, STLs, and PLYs work well with Unity. I haven't tried with anything else, but feel free to experiment. But direct max files are best because they allow you to also post-edit any one of the elements you use in a scene. So let's say we had multiple elements, like another box right here. When you export it into Unity, you'll be able to move both these boxes together. However, if you just exported it with an OBJ or STL, it creates one element that you can't move. So I would just recommend right into Unity, just put in max files. Max files are your friend. So now that I've saved that, let's go into our Unity scene. Find that church area. And let's import it real quick. So let's go to assets. I have it in the buildings folder. So let's file, import new asset. And it could be in my quick access. No, I will just look for it under scenes, then table right here. It'll take a second, like usual, for everything to load right here. While we're waiting, I'll show you this city area right here. I've been working pretty hard on that, all with 3ds Max to make buildings. But as I said before, we're starting small with tables. I'm sorry about that. I'm back. So I got the table to finally load into my asset folder. So let's move that right into the building right now. And when you upload it, it's going to be extremely huge. So that needs some work on when we're putting it right into Unity. So just make sure to make things about scale size and about scale rotation. So you can see it's completely white. Just for the purposes of seeing the thing, I'm going to drag and drop a texture to it so we can see it better. And let's just move it right on inside. Now, unlike 3ds Max, we can only see in Unity from one angle. So moving things in 3D so they're aligned is significantly harder. But after you do that, okay, we're on the roof right now, we're getting closer. That's better. So you can see right here, the table we just built is right in our scene. And that didn't take long at all for what we did. So I thank you for bearing with me for this. And I hope in the future we can make some more interesting and nuanced things. But for now, I'm glad that we got this far through just making a table. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Thanks.